Hey everyone, this is Corinne Laffoy, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and your favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from Trinidad and Tobago. It's a lovely day today. I'm hearing the birds chirping outside, my next door neighbor parrot making a lot of noise and talking. And so and so I just want to show appreciation for today, appreciation for life. I'm thankful for everything, good and bad, because it's a lesson to be learned from everything. And we're on the series today, continuing the series of saluting dads, men. What are they doing right? What aren't they doing right? What can we learn from these guys who can teach other men who need help? Help them to reach out, let them learn the ways. These guys, they are not perfect, I'm sure. None of us are, but we're all a work in progress. Yeah, and the whole thing is to be able to make ourselves open to learning and growing. Yeah. So I have with me Ivan Hunt. In Spanish, you would say Ivan. Ivan. Yeah, but it's Ivan Hunt. Is that correct, or should I call you Ivan?
No, Ivan. I'm actually, I'm half black, half white, so there's not a lot of.
We could tell that. We could tell that. We could tell something is going on there. Something is going on there. Yes. So you're half and half. According to on Martin, you're the swirl. You're a swirl.
Yeah, I'm the best of both worlds.
That's right. That's right. So anybody who have any racist comment with you black, you could take it on. Any racist comment white, you could take it on.
Yes, I can.
Yes,
I can. Yes, I can.
That's the beautiful thing about black people. I just love being black. I've never said that. No, I shouldn't have said that. I've always been proud of being black.
Right.
And the thing, huh?
Well, it took me a while to accept me being mixed.
Really?
I grew up in the deep South, and my parents are still married. When they got married, it was only legal for 5 years. So even though it was legal, the mindset of people was still very much rooted in that old South segregated way of thinking. So when I grew up, in my small town, there was probably 90-something% white, maybe 6-7% black, and the rest were others, and I fell in that other bucket. So it really wasn't a lot of interracial marriages or kids at that time when I was growing up. Yeah, it was a challenge.
Wow, what a confused situation there. That is something that probably influenced you being a father as well. We don't know. We'll investigate that. But I'm proud of being black, and what I like about black people, and this is not against any other race or anything like that. I'm just speaking about me because I could talk about me being black. Is that you just accept everybody. I don't know if it's because we have color in our skin and we come in all shapes, size, form. We have different hair, colored eyes. I don't know if we're the only race that come in all those flavors and shapes, and I really don't know, but it's just so beautiful seeing black people. We range in hue from jet black to white, and
Right.
and you're
Right.
still black. It's amazing. And you can have colored eyes, you can have straight hair, you can have blonde hair, you can have black hair, curly hair. It doesn't matter. It's just so beautiful being black. Oh my goodness. We don't need to go out and tan. We don't need to do any such thing. Isn't that great?
And actually, my mom is the only white person on my dad's side of the family to this day, over 40-something years.
Wow.
And I was listening to you, about what it is to be black and all the different shades and hues that we come in. And the thing, I had family members on her side who wouldn't come around me until I was 16 years old. Whereas on my dad's side, they embraced my mom. And, my mom's side of the family initially, disowned her. So I think my dad's side of the family, which is the black side of the family, is much more inclusive. And I've found that, the black community in general is a lot more inclusive and accepting and forgiving of others. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we are not taught to think otherwise or socialize or influence. It is just innate in us.
Right.
To just accept everybody. We find it strange. We actually find it strange when people are treated differently. No matter if we travel and we go somewhere, we're like, why are you doing that? Why are you treating this person that way? It just seems strange to us, and it is not a matter of whether the person that is being treated badly as black. It could be white, it could be Chinese, it could be Indian. We just don't like injustice, So yeah. So here we are, Ivan, and we're talking about fatherhood, and it's a great way to kind of segue into the discussion, given your background I don't want to tell people the thing that the information that you shared with me. I want you to say it because I think it was something better coming from you about your kids and you know, the dynamics happening in your family. And it would be really interesting to hear how you handle that. But first, let's start with your background and when you became a father and what being a father and a man meant to you.
Well, it probably happened in that order too. Me becoming a father before I became a man. And
Wow.
you know, in my first marriage, so I'm remarried now,
Mm-hmm.
but in my first marriage, when I met my first wife, she had a 2.5-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I adopted him. You know, we eventually got married, and then I adopted him probably when he was about 10, and I've raised him ever since, even after the divorce. She and I had a son as well, and I remember, you know, we were contemplating, you know, the pregnancy and so forth, and I remember telling my dad said that was the last thing I needed was a child, you know, just because I was still very irresponsible and immature. But I always felt like, you know, that was probably the thing that I did need the most. You know,
Yeah.
give me something greater than myself to look forward to.
Right.
And so we eventually got divorced. 5 years after the divorce, went through a 4-year custody battle. Prior to the custody case, I had joint custody of my 2 boys,
Mm-hmm.
and spent the next 4 years in court fighting for my rights as their father.
Wow.
And so it bankrupted me mentally, emotionally, financially.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I was awarded majority custody of my boys. And now the oldest, you know, he's 23. He just graduated college. Proud of him, but he expunged from the case. But my youngest son, you know, we spent 4 years fighting for him, and then I got remarried,
Mm-hmm.
and now I have a daughter together.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has an older son, you know, my older stepson.
Mm-hmm.
He's gay, so we just have such a blended mix of family together. And you know, it was really after the divorce and me kind of turning my life around that I kind of grew into manhood.
Wow.
For a man, absolutely.
So how old are you now, if you don't mind saying?
I'm 44.
Wow. So at what age you grew into manhood?
Great question. Probably, I think you grow, you evolve every day, right? So I'm growing as a man every single day. But I think that real transition took place probably a couple years after my divorce, where you know, after the divorce, I jumped into a rebound relationship that was very toxic as well.
Wow.
And after that, I just spent a year off by myself, and I just stayed in my Bible, and I just really read and, you know, studied scripture and so forth, and really just went through a healing process and a cleansing of the mind and a cleansing of the body. And it was during that time, so it was probably mid 30s, thereabout, early to mid 30s, thereabout, that I went through that transition. And that's what really propelled me to where I'm at today with the marriage that I have, the successful marriage that we have, and relationship with my kids that I have.
So what do you think contributed to you not, let's call it quote unquote, not being the type of man that you would like to be up to age 30?
Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? And I think what was, you know, I just got out of the military. She was in the military. So, you know, we were living, even though we were in a civilian world, you know, we were still very high strung. And I've dealt with substance abuse and mood disorders, you know, pretty much all my life. And so a lot of that happened during the early parts of my life. You know, I did a lot of self-medicating, a lot of, you know, wasn't faithful in my marriage or any relationship prior to that. And so a lot of it was just really trying to figure out who I was, what my responsibilities were as a man, and I still hadn't learned respect for myself, you know, and that was a big thing too, you know, learning how to have that respect for myself.
Wow. And what, I mean, besides your spiritual, taking the time off and you know, getting to know God, getting to know yourself a bit, what do you think has contributed to you after age 30 to being the kind of man that you feel proud of now?
How did that contribute to it?
No, what besides the spiritual development and taking the time off, what do you think are the factors or who or what contributed to you becoming the person that you are now?
A broken heart, really, quite frankly, it was a broken heart that led to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an understanding and a humility within myself to say, okay, if there's smoke, there's fire. You've been in 2 previous relationships. You said they were both crazy, but yet still they're telling you the same things. So obviously they can't be crazy. You're the one that and so, I had to stop and look myself in the mirror, and I had to ask myself some really simple questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to come up with some really hard answers. Who am I? What do I stand for? What do I believe in?
Mm-hmm.
What areas of my life do I need to improve on? Where do I need to apologize to others? Where do I need to forgive myself? Where do I need to forgive others? And really just start doing a lot of healing and identifying my strengths and my weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really just a broken heart that I just didn't want to hurt anymore. And I didn't want to hurt those around me either.
Ivan, you're touching me deeply here now. You're touching me deeply because I love to hear men talk this way. I love to hear men. I had a previous recording a while ago, and we're talking about vulnerability on this same Saluting Dad series, that men are afraid of being vulnerable, exposing themselves, talking about their emotions. And you see, for you to really reach to a place where you look inward, where you realize it's a broken heart, and you realize the pattern, the trend, and it cannot be them at fault. It has to be you, because 2 people are giving you the same reasons. You're seeing a pattern, something is going on, and you had to take a step back and say, no, something is going on here, and I need to look at myself. And I commend you for that. And I wish a lot of men, and I would love a lot of men to listen to this. This is free. I'm putting this out on social media, etc. I really hope that men listen to this. Young men growing up, so it's not a matter of men who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, young men, so that they can take hold of this and learn as they're coming up. And don't fall into the group of, hey, it's hype, it's all that, to be this macho man. Please, those things, what you're seeing on TV is, throw that thing away, ignore that. And I commend you for looking inward, like I was saying, to be vulnerable, to realize that it is to take responsibility. Let's call it that, to take responsibility for what you have been contributing without even pointing a finger at anyone. You took the responsibility and say, I am the one, and I need to do something. It's not a matter of whatever, because you want better. You want to have love in your life. You want to have a great relationship. You want to be a good example. I really, really commend you for that. But I'm going to ask you this now. We're going to go a little bit deeper.
Okay.
How did you, we're saying this, but for a man to be able to dig so deep and come to that realization and take that responsibility, what do you think it takes of a man to come to that point?
A woman.
The same woman that break your heart.
A woman.
The same woman that break your heart is a.
Hey, if you get back together after that, that's something totally different. But what gets you to that point 9 out of 10 times is a woman.
To bring you back. What are you saying, Ivan? To bring you back is a woman. We're not talking about the woman that broke your heart, because you have learned that something is going on, and you realize you're the reason why. But you're saying there's a woman here now in your heart that you like, and you realize I'm going to create the same pattern, and I don't want that. So right. It's a woman again.
Yes. Yes. But you got to understand, men are taught to be hunters, warriors, conquerors, gatherers, right?
Yeah. So
the thrill for us is in the pursuit.
Yeah.
So once we've obtained whatever it is we're pursuing, we become complacent.
That's right.
And so a lot of times what happens, even in relationships, is, once we won our prize, right, then, we tend to go back to our natural tendencies. Well, our natural tendencies were always taught to be stoic, not to be very expressive, right? You got to be this tough guy, you got to be all these things. So now all of a sudden, this woman who's been taught the whole other spectrum of emotions, there's this huge disconnect, because she doesn't know how to communicate to him in his language, and he doesn't know how to communicate to her in her language. Well, we are typically a little bit more embracing or willing to seek outside help or counsel. And so once that ultimatum is really given to that guy, say, hey, look, man, if you don't shape up, then we need to really look at this relationship again. And, once that man knows that he really loves you, he's going to do what he's got to do. And then it's really at that point where that heart gets broken. Pain and pleasure are the two real motivators of change per Tony Robbins, right? Yeah. So a lot of time for men is pain is what drives the change, not necessarily pleasure. So it's the pain from that rejection, it's the pain from that loss, it's the pain of that separation or that divorce, or the potential of losing this woman that you found that is good for you, and you're screwing it up. What do I got to do to fix it? And that's where it starts.
But how do you know she's worth it? How do you know she's worth it? That you would make the effort, because that's the thing. Some men will be like, the other woman I could go after is nothing,
but that's not over. But that statement right there, that's not maturity. So if the guy is sitting there saying, "Oh, I can go out and I can find better," well, he still hasn't matured yet. He's still in that little player stage. Once you get to a point to where you understand that relationships are important, right? And you get to that stage of I don't want to be a player no more. I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to have, I'm just ready to live life. I'm ready to find peace.
Yeah.
And once that happens, then, that woman will be there. In order to find the right woman, you got to be the right man, right? And vice versa. To find the right man, you got to be the right woman. Once you're done, that woman that you're meant to be after, she will meet you at that crossroads in your own personal development. And it's within that personal development that you're still going to, there's still changes you're going to have to make. But if you haven't grown completely, and you will know that she's for you. You will just know, because she'll put up with your crap that nobody else will. But yet still, she's not.
And we do put up with the crap.
Yeah, but you're not going to tear her. You're not going to tear her down.
Yeah, because we love you, and because we as women see something in you that is worth the investment. So if you see a woman sticking around, it's either she must be mad or something. I don't know what to say about that woman, because she goes, and tell you, a woman will go against her friends, her family, her everything, because she just feels something that draws her to this particular man. And she no matter what, she just sacrifices, But that is good. So it's a woman that broke your heart that made you change. And there's a woman that you feel for that even push you even further to becoming a better man. Now let's come back to your children. You said one is gay. Tell us the story about that. I mean, that is in today's discussion with the whole homosexuality, etc., and trying to get equal rights. People may say, "Oh my God, you have a gay child. How are you dealing that with your man? Because you're a man. I mean, you have a man." And I've lived in Jamaica for 21 years, and I'm sure you're quite aware of how Jamaicans may think of homosexuality. That's a worldwide view. And Jamaican men are very, man, tough, be a man kind of a thing at all costs. So they and I'm not saying this to bash them. This is just their culture. This is what they are bred and socialized to believing. So they are not very much open to accepting certain types of sexual orientations, etc. How you as a man, and especially from the South, and dealing with even color issues, growing up with color issues, now you have to deal with sexual orientation from one of your kids.
Well, I went to, when I first moved to Miami, I went to a Jamaican church. I was a member of Jamaica probably for about 2 or 3 years. Well, actually, maybe longer than that. And so I'm very familiar with the Jamaican culture. Yeah. Now, as far as dealing with my child being gay, there's no issue with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I grew up in a place. So I grew up in a family, with a husband and a father, with a husband and a wife who were already, trailblazers, right? Because like I said, my dad's black, my mom's white.
Right.
They got married in 73. They met each other in 71. Well, it was legal in 67 or 68. So they were already ahead of the curve. So they were already used to social stigmas and everything trying to pull them apart. So what I saw unconditional love, regardless of circumstances around you. So for me, there's absolutely nothing that my kids can do to ever make me stop loving them. Now, that doesn't mean they won't piss me off or make me mad sometimes. That's not what I'm saying. But there is absolutely nothing that they can do or be to make me stop loving them unconditionally. So the same holds true with my oldest son. Him and his partner just got engaged. They've been married for 3 years.
Wow.
They're both extremely successful.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them look like models. I mean, they're beautiful young men. They really are. They're beautiful young men, and they have a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And I just think that love has no color. Love.
That's right.
It really is. And it doesn't matter about your sexual orientation. It doesn't matter about your gender. You don't get to choose.
Yeah, who you love.
Yeah, you don't. So if that same vibe or that energy, or that exchange of energy of love is true between a man and a woman, well, why would it be the same in any other setting? Yeah. So you don't get to choose.
You don't get to choose. I love that. You don't get to choose who you love. That came, it's so funny you say that, because that's exactly what came to me this morning. I don't know why those words came to me this morning. You don't get to choose who you love. And I said it out loud too, just by myself. You don't get to choose who you love. And yesterday I was running through the papers, and on the cover of the newspaper here in Trinidad, there was a thing about, I think the woman is a lawyer, and she fell in love with a convict. And I think they got married now. And she was visiting him, I guess, for so many years. I don't know if she was his lawyer, but she stayed faithful to him and fell in love. And I'm like, probably that's the reason why it came to me, that you don't get to choose who you love. Somebody might look down on her, somebody who's established, she's obviously educated. The woman is a lawyer. And here she is falling in love with a convict. Right?
A lot of my wife's friends, I believe, say the same thing about me. Here I was. I'm if you were to look at my wife and see, I don't think I fit her, right? Or at least that's my image. I don't think I fit her. But nonetheless, we mesh, and so she's gone against her friends, and stood by me through thick and thin. And I did not make it easy for her. Trust me. She endured, and she'll tell you, and I'll be quick to tell you. I put her through the ringers, and a lot of that was just my own jadedness and so forth. But she has dealt with me during the substance abuse. She has dealt with me during my mood swings. All kind of stuff. So it's just about friendship. To me, that's what relationships about. Friends forgive, lovers don't. And you got to be best friends with each other. And when you have that type of relationship in your kids, right, it makes parenting all the more easier, because your kids know that, okay, mom and dad, they don't really fight like that. They talk things out. You don't hear mom and dad cursing each other or throwing things. They're always talking things out. So it's teaching the kids, conflict resolution. And it's also teaching them how to interact and communicate with one another. And it's teaching them that emotional intelligence. And so it makes parenting that much more easier. It really does.
It's what they see. Because I keep going back, when I interview these dads, these men, these fathers, I go back into their past. Some of them didn't have a good past. Everybody has a history. Everybody has a story, Ivan. Everybody. And it's the same way your kids are going to be telling a story too of you as their father. And so we need to realize where we need to make that change in us, so that the story can get better as it goes along, generation after generation. And it's good for us to do that introspection, that taking responsibility, that recognizing, not living in denial, and knowing that we need to work on ourselves. Just take accountability and don't wait for somebody to tell you. Don't try to cover it, make excuses, justify it. Because it is causing breakup in great relationships or potential relationships, whether it is with your wife, girlfriend, children. And what's the point? what's the point? Life is short. You know, life is short. And how do you really want to live it? How do you really want to live it? And I wanted to ask you, you know, we talk about mature men. You mentioned about the person not being mature enough. And there's no really specific age to say that this person should be mature at this age or that age. Because you have people who are in their 30s and they're so much more mature than somebody in their 50s. Somebody in their 50s, they're behaving like they're in their 20s, and you're like, what the hell? You know, what has happened? What has happened there? You know, you just don't know. And it comes back to how they were brought up, what they were exposed to, a lot of influence. And like I was saying to somebody who I interviewed, you know, it's good when you're dealing with someone in terms of a relationship to understand the person's past, you know, where they're coming from, because this is what influenced them to be the person that they are today. But we're talking about men and dads, and I like to balance things off. What would you say to women to help support and to create that balance for men? Men are there working hard. We speak different languages. That's unknown. We don't understand the language. We speak a different language. What would you expect from a woman to help you to be a better man, to help the relationship, and not only relationship, help you to become a better man and a better father? What do you expect from the woman? What would you say to them?
Well, I'll use my wife as the example. You know, she is accepting. She is non-judgmental. She is a supporter. She is a leader. She is a follower. She is completely loving. She's a caregiver, and she's almost a rock, actually, believe it or not. Even though I wear the role and title of head of household, but you know, she still is the one that really makes the train move. Respect. You know, she respects me as a man and as a person. She honors me as a man and as a person. Plus, as her husband, of course, don't get me wrong. But those are the things I would say to a woman. You know, be respectful to your man. You know, take time to try to understand. Take time to be empathetic about his day. Acknowledge his feelings. Acknowledge that if he's stressed out, acknowledge it and tell him that it's okay. Acknowledge and validate it. That's really what you're doing. And, you know, don't judge him. You know, men grow up in a society that is full of judgment. And maybe women don't really see it that way, right? Because women always see all these model types that they feel like they have to portray. But men see it too. So acknowledge the fact that, you know what, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to hold you to, you know, a certain standard or whatever. I'm just going to accept you and embrace you as you are. And that goes a long way with a man. That goes a long, long way. Hello?
I'm so sorry, I muted myself, and I forgot. I started talking, I didn't realize I muted myself.
I saw the button, I wasn't sure.
No, what I'm saying is what you're saying is so significant, because we're talking expectations and acceptance. And we really need to be able to accept each other for who we are, who each other is in the whole relationship, and not try to make you be somebody that you're not, because it puts you under pressure. You know, it's just not you. So you have, and I think that's not true love, you know, without, you know, trying to put somebody into a mold, you know, or expect certain things. Yes, you may have certain standards, and, you know, but I've known, you know what came back to me? I knew this woman who married this guy. They've been together forever until he died. And he was a drinker and smoker. I mean, and everybody knew he was just drinker and smoker, but he was a brilliant man. And the more he drank, is the more brilliant he became. He would, yes, he was just so brilliant. And he would talk to you as lucid, you know, sober as ever. You ask him a question, and no matter in whatever drunk state, he can still speak to you. The man was just brilliant.
Right.
And he would be like a fish, at times, drunken and whatever, but she still stood by him because she loved him, and I knew at times that she was embarrassed by his behavior, but she never changed him. She accepted him for who he was or is at that time. And, like I said before, life is so short. We accept our kids. You accept your son, one of your children as gay. Whoever want to pursue whatever. Before we came live, I was asking about the trophy on the right-hand side there by you. And you said, hey, your son is playing, basketball. And I'm like, it's not yours. So you're like, hey, it doesn't matter to you. It's not about you.
No.
But we tend to live through our kids. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And that's something that, I've tried to be very careful because he's just now really developed that thirst to play basketball. I grew up playing basketball. That was my favorite sport. And he's just now really developed that the drive to learn. So, now he lets me get him in the gym and lets me work, with him and so forth. But you touched on something just a second ago about, the brilliant guy who sometimes would have his wife embarrassed. Recently a situation happened between my wife and I where I had did something. I was the one that was the fish in water. And apparently I made a comment to a friend of hers, that offended that friend. And I don't remember, it was a month before it was ever brought to my attention. So obviously I didn't think anything of it.
Right.
But my wife, even though this was her best friend, told her, said, if you can't accept him, then you can't have me. It's not going to be, you're not going to split us. That's not the way it works. She said, I don't care what he does. I don't care if he's right or wrong. I'm always going to stick by him, period. And I'm always going to choose him. And, so yeah, there's times where I'm pretty sure I've done things that embarrass her. But there's always one thing I know for certain, that she's always going to have my back first and foremost. Now, if I'm wrong, she'll address that later. But as far as to anybody else is concerned, she's going to stick by me through thick and thin, and vice versa. I'll stick by her through thick and thin. And I'm always going to choose her side first. And then she's right. If she's wrong, then baby, let's talk about it behind closed doors and thing out. But yeah, I've been that guy too.
We all make mistakes, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all make mistakes. We are human. We are not supposed to be that perfect person, close up in a glass, everybody watch you, try to touch you, and they can't. And, you just stand up there posing. That makes no sense.
Right.
Life is full of up and downs. And you just look back at a faded memory after a time. And, when you think about life, it's amazing, because you would wish if something were to happen to that person and you really care about that person, and something was to happen to that person, you would wish that same mistake would have been made again, just to see the person. You would wish the person was around to make that same mistake again. I mean, we focus on such trivial things. We focus on the wrong things in life. It just makes no sense to me. But this is great, Ivan. It's, what you're going through, you're raising, is how many kids you have? I think it's about 4.
Yes, I have 2 biological, and then 2 that this is what I say. I have 2 biological and 4 that I paid for.
And I love that story that you shared, and I didn't get to touch on that you fought for your kids. That is something, and it made you bankrupt. You said emotionally, spiritually, and everything else. Yeah. And for you to fight for your kids, it must have meant a lot to you. You don't necessarily hear that. You more hear a woman would fight for her kids, but that is significant. And I really want to commend you on that, to make sure that you have your kids. And they normally give the kids to the woman, right? They normally favor the woman.
Right. So, but that's the thing. It takes somebody to, go through the whole cycle of the fight. Yeah. Right. Because it's, I was responsible for 70% of all the, legal bills. Right. And, we had to go through all kind of stuff. I mean, it was 4 years under a microscope of the court, of the judicial system. And during that process, my attorney fired me because I ran out of money. So, I kid you not, took me to court and fired me. And so I had to negotiate over the last 6 to 8 months of that 4-year battle, I had to negotiate on my behalf of the parental settle agreement, which was probably the best thing that could have happened for me, because I didn't have to go through the attorney. I could deal with her attorney, and I could deal with the guardian at Little that we hired also for the case. And so I was representing me, and at this time he was already staying with me because there was some other stuff that happened during the course of the battle where she got put on restricted visit, whatever. Whatever. That's irrelevant. But he was already living with me for the last 1.5 years of the 4 years. So I negotiated it, and I signed the papers on Valentine's Day, and it couldn't have been a better gift, because it was such a huge relief. To finally just to get it off, to get it over with. My kids took a pounding through it all, especially my boy, the youngest one. He just really, he was the one that was caught in the middle for the whole duration of it. And he took a beating. I mean, mentally, he took a beating. Emotionally, he took a beating.
And these things stay with them, These things stay with them for life. And for you to be around with them, it's great. It's great that you're there as a strong, solid man in their life. For men who are listening to this, or people who may be listeners and know that there's a man out there that going through a similar sort of struggle with a court, relationship issues, what would you say to them in wrapping up to give them that sort of string? I wouldn't even say rope, string to hold on to. What would you say to them?
Understand what your building blocks in life are. Understand what your value, what's your belief system? What is it that you really believe in? And what are the things that come with that belief? What are your values? What's really important to you? What are your priorities in life? What's your philosophy towards life? Because when you hit rock bottom, that's all you're going to have. You're going to have to start all over, and you're going to have to rebuild your life. So if you understand what your building blocks in life are, then you can always lay down a solid foundation no matter where you go in life, no matter who comes into your life. You always have that solid foundation. And that's one of the things that I really work with my clients on, is really understanding, what their building blocks are, and what some of the rules and roles that are expected of them, and what are the expectations and so forth, and alignments, assumptions, and and et cetera, et cetera. So I spend a lot of time working in that framework.
And when you hit rock bottom, you can't get any further than that. I mean, that's rock bottom. So
but you have a choice. But you have a choice. You can stay there.
Of course.
Or you get back up.
You get back up. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to stay there. Kind of lonely down in the bottom down there.
Well, misery loves company. And so, a lot of times when people hit rock bottom, they kind of gravitate, that negative energy that they're, sending out, it attracts the same like-minded people. So you don't even realize you're at rock bottom because all your friends are at rock bottom too. So sometimes it's just a matter of understanding, energetically how we present ourselves and what it is we're attracting. I know everybody hears the law of attraction, but there's also this law of repulsion.
Of course.
Propelling people away from you, repulsing people away from you. So you got to really understand what it is, who it is you are at your core that will allow you to pull yourself up out of the depths of hell and bring you to the surface, man. Life is good, bro. Life is good.
Great way to end the show. And we went way over the 15 minutes. Life is good. I love that. That's a great way to end it. Life is good. Life is good. No matter what, life is good. Don't stay at rock bottom. Don't try to hold on and hug up and kiss up anybody down there at rock bottom. It makes no sense. Tell them bye, wish them all the best, and you just move on up. Moving on up. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ivan Hunt. You're doing a fantastic job. We need to stay in touch. I love all these men that have been interviewing. I've created a nice bond with them. You see, that's why I need to cut off all the women that I interview on my show. I just only have men.
My pleasure. And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It's not a problem, my darling. I thank you for the wisdom that you're sharing, and the men, young, old, middle, I don't care where you are, that you're uplifting today, sharing your experiences and your openness and allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Thank you so much.
Thank you.